Have you ever noticed this? Some of the world's most successful people, athletes, entrepreneurs, often sit in interviews and podcasts with their fingers positioned in very specific ways. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. But thousands of years ago, ancient yogis believed these hand positions weren't random at all.
From here to here, you can control the whole universe. It is everything. This is like the mouse for your computer. Here, you can just adjust your system whichever way you want, if you know what to do. This is like the mouse to your computer, you can take it wherever you want. You can just activate your system whichever way you want. So hands are capable of doing many things. That is a whole science attached to it. It would be too much to explore in a situation like this.
In fact, the same gestures can be found in ancient statues of Lord Shiva, in depictions of Gautama Buddha, and in some of the oldest meditation traditions ever recorded. These ancient gestures are known as mudras, a secret language of the body that yogis believed could influence focus, energy, emotions, and even consciousness itself. In this video, we'll uncover the ancient science behind mudras and reveal the 10 most powerful hand mudras ever recorded. And trust me, you do not want to miss number 6 and number 7, because those two mudras are believed to have some of the most fascinating effects in all of yogic tradition. If you're fascinated by ancient wisdom, spirituality, yoga, and the hidden knowledge of the past, make sure to subscribe, because that's exactly what we explore on this channel. But before we explore the 10 most powerful mudras, we first need to understand what a mudra actually is. The word mudra comes from Sanskrit and is commonly translated as seal, mark, sign, or gesture. But in the ancient spiritual traditions of India, a mudra was believed to be far more than a simple hand position. It was seen as a symbolic seal, a physical gesture that reflected and influenced one's inner state of consciousness. In fact, the importance of mudras can be traced through some of the oldest spiritual traditions in human history. References to mudras appear throughout Hindu, Buddhist, and Tantric teachings, while countless examples can be found in ancient temples, sacred artwork, and statues across India, Nepal, Tibet, China, and Southeast Asia. One of the most detailed discussions of mudras appears in the ancient yogic text known as the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Written around the 15th century by the yogi Swatmarama, the text describes various mudras as important tools for directing prana, the vital life force believed to flow through the human body. Another influential text, the Garanda Samhita, also dedicates entire sections to mudras and describes them as practices capable of supporting higher states of yogic development. For ancient yogis, the human body was not viewed merely as flesh and bone. It was seen as a subtle energetic system. According to yogic philosophy, prana flows through channels known as nadis and gathers around powerful energy centers called chakras. And this is where mudras become especially fascinating. Different mudras were traditionally associated with different energetic qualities, and in some traditions, even with specific chakras. For example, Gyan mudra, formed by touching the thumb and index finger together, is commonly associated with the Ajna chakra, often called the third eye chakra, which is linked to awareness, intuition, and inner wisdom. Anjali mudra, the familiar prayer gesture, is frequently connected with the Anahata chakra, or heart chakra, symbolizing compassion, gratitude, and emotional balance. Hakini mudra, where all fingertips touch one another, is also associated in modern yogic traditions with the third eye chakra, and is often practiced to encourage concentration and mental clarity. Meanwhile, prana mudra is sometimes linked to the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, because it is believed to awaken dormant vitality and strengthen one's connection to life force energy. Whether these associations are understood literally, symbolically, or psychologically depends on the tradition. But what is remarkable is that similar ideas appear across centuries of yogic literature. Mudras also became central to Buddhism. If you look closely at statues of Gautama Buddha, you will notice that his hands are rarely positioned randomly. Each gesture carries a specific meaning. The Dhyana mudra symbolizes meditation and inner concentration. The Bhumisparsha mudra, often called the earth-touching gesture, represents the moment of enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree. The Abhaya Mudra symbolizes fearlessness and protection. In other words, mudras became a visual language of spiritual experience. This symbolic language expanded even further within Tantra. In Vajrayana, Buddhism and Tantric Hinduism, hundreds of mudras were developed for rituals, meditation practices, initiations, and sacred ceremonies. Some traditions taught that a mudra was not merely a gesture, but a physical expression of an awakened state of consciousness itself. And this is why mudras have remained relevant for thousands of years. They are not merely positions of the fingers, they are symbols, tools, and reminders, a bridge between the physical body and the inner world, a silent language that ancient sages believed could shape attention, focus energy, and guide the mind toward deeper states of awareness. But this raises an even bigger question. How could something as simple as the position of your fingers have such a powerful effect on the human mind? To answer that, we need to explore the ancient science behind mudras and the fascinating theory of the 5 elements. For thousands of years, yogis believed that the human body was more than a physical structure. It was viewed as an energetic system through which prana, often translated as life force energy, continuously flowed. Within this system, every part of the body was believed to have a deeper symbolic significance, including the hands. In yogic philosophy, one of the most important concepts is known as the Pancha Mahabhutas, or the 5 great elements. Ancient texts teach that everything in existence, from mountains and rivers to stars, plants, animals, and even the human body, is composed of 5 fundamental forces: fire, air, space, earth, and water. Over centuries, yogis developed a fascinating theory. They believed that each finger represented one of these elements. The thumb was associated with fire, the force of transformation, energy, and vitality. Index finger represented air, the element connected to movement, breath, and thought. Middle finger symbolized space, often associated with expansion, awareness, and consciousness itself. Ring finger represented earth, the force of stability, grounding, and physical structure. And the little finger was linked to water, symbolizing flow, adaptability, emotions, and connection. According to this ancient understanding, the hand became a miniature map of the universe itself. When different fingers touched each other, yogis believed they were symbolically connecting different elemental forces within the body and mind. This is why many mudras involve specific finger combinations. The goal was not merely to create a hand gesture, but to influence one's internal state through conscious awareness and intention. But here's where things get interesting. Modern science does not support the idea that your thumb literally contains fire, or that your little finger literally contains water. Yet, surprisingly, science has discovered something equally fascinating. The human hand is one of the most neurologically connected parts of the body. If you look at a map of the brain, known as the sensory homunculus, you'll notice that the fingers and hands occupy a disproportionately large area of the brain's sensory cortex. In simple terms, your brain dedicates an enormous amount of processing power to tracking the position, movement, and sensation of your fingers. Every time you move your hands, touch your fingertips together, or hold a specific gesture, your brain is actively processing that information. This means that a mudra is not just a symbolic gesture, it is also a repeated sensory pattern that the nervous system continuously registers. And there's another layer to this. Modern research into psychology and cognitive science suggests that gestures do more than communicate with other people, they can influence the way we think. Studies have shown that hand gestures can affect attention, memory, learning, and mental processing. In other words, the body doesn't simply follow the mind. The mind is constantly responding to the body as well. This may help explain why so many meditation traditions place importance on posture, breathing, eye position, and hand placement. A mudra gives the mind something physical to anchor itself to. A silent reminder to remain present, a shape that attention can continuously return to. Researchers have also found that meditation and yogic practices can shift the nervous system away from stress and toward relaxation. Long-term practitioners often show increased parasympathetic activity, the body's natural rest and recovery mode, and reduced activation of the fight-or-flight response. Of course, mudras are usually practiced together with breathing exercises, meditation, and mindfulness. So any benefit is likely the result of the entire practice working together rather than the hand position alone. And perhaps that is where ancient wisdom and modern science begin to meet. The ancient yogis did not look at the hand as merely flesh and bone. They saw it as a living map of the elements, a tool for directing awareness, a bridge between the physical and the mental. If different combinations of fingers were believed to influence different aspects of human experience, which mudras did the ancient yogis consider the most powerful? Let's explore the 10 mudras that have survived for centuries and continue to be practiced by millions of people around the world today. We'll begin with perhaps the most recognizable mudra in the world. Even if you've never practiced yoga or meditation, chances are you've performed Anjali mudra many times without realizing it. Simply bring your palms together in front of your chest, allowing the fingers to point upward while the thumbs gently rest against the sternum. Today, most people know this gesture as Namaste, but its history stretches back thousands of years through Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions. Ancient teachers saw Anjali mudra as much more than a greeting. It symbolized the meeting of two forces, the individual self and the universal self, the physical and the spiritual, the outer world and the inner world. Yogic traditions often associate this mudra with the heart chakra or Anahata chakra, the energetic center linked with compassion, gratitude, love, and emotional balance. This is one reason why people naturally place their hands in this position during prayer, worship, or moments of sincere appreciation. Perhaps the true power of Anjali mudra lies in its simplicity. In a world filled with distraction, it invites us to pause, become present, and reconnect with what truly matters. At first glance, Hakini mudra looks surprisingly familiar. In fact, you may have seen business leaders and public speakers using this gesture without even realizing it. To perform Hakini mudra, simply bring all 10 fingertips together while leaving a small space between the palms. Ancient yogic traditions associate this mudra with mental clarity, concentration, memory, and higher awareness. Modern yoga teachers often connect it with the Ajna chakra, commonly known as the third eye chakra, which is associated with intuition, insight, and perception. What makes Hakini mudra especially fascinating is that many people naturally adopt this position while thinking deeply. Ancient practitioners believed that the gesture helped bring different aspects of the mind into harmony, balancing analytical thinking with intuition. Whether viewed spiritually or psychologically, Hakini mudra remains one of the most popular mudras for focus and mental organization. In a culture obsessed with speed and instant results, Shuni mudra teaches the opposite lesson. To perform it, gently touch the tip of the middle finger to the tip of the thumb while keeping the remaining fingers extended. In yogic philosophy, the thumb represents fire, while the middle finger represents space. Their union symbolizes patience, discipline, responsibility, and wisdom gained through experience. Ancient teachers often recommended this mudra for students, seekers, and meditators who wished to develop greater emotional stability and self-control. Rather than chasing immediate rewards, Shuni mudra reminds practitioners to trust the process of growth. Its message is simple but profound. True strength is not found in force, it is found in patience. Known as the mudra of purification, Apana mudra has been practiced for centuries in yogic and Ayurvedic traditions. It is formed by touching the tips of the middle finger and ring finger to the thumb while keeping the other fingers extended. Ancient practitioners believed that this mudra supported Apana Vayu, the downward moving current of energy associated with elimination, cleansing, and renewal. Because of this, it became closely linked with digestion, detoxification, and the body's natural ability to release what is no longer needed. But the symbolism goes beyond physical cleansing. Many yogic teachers viewed Apana mudra as a reminder that growth often requires letting go of unhealthy habits, limiting beliefs, emotional burdens, and attachments that no longer serve us. Before something new can enter your life, something old must leave. This is one of the most practical mudras on the entire list. To perform Vayu Mudra, gently fold the index finger toward the base of the thumb and lightly press it with the thumb. According to the 5 elements theory, the index finger represents air. In yogic philosophy, air governs movement, not only physical movement, but also mental movement in the form of thoughts, worries, and constant internal chatter. Ancient practitioners believed that when the air element became excessive, it could contribute to nervousness, restlessness, anxiety, and mental instability. The purpose of Vayu Mudra was to bring balance to that movement, to quiet the noise, to calm the storm. Even today, many practitioners use this mudra during meditation when seeking greater focus, emotional stability, and inner peace. If Vayu Mudra calms and slows the mind, Surya Mudra is believed to do the opposite. It activates. To perform it, bend the ring finger toward the base of the thumb and gently press it with the thumb. The name Surya means sun, and in yogic tradition, this mudra is associated with the fire element. Fire represents energy, transformation, vitality, digestion, and willpower. Ancient yogis believed that Surya Mudra could help increase internal heat, stimulate metabolism, and awaken dormant energy within the body. Symbolically, it represents the power of transformation itself. Just as fire transforms wood into ash, Surya Mudra was believed to help transform stagnation into movement, weakness into strength, and hesitation into action. Few mudras carry as much spiritual significance as Dhyana Mudra. This sacred gesture is commonly seen in statues of Gautama Buddha seated in meditation. The hands rest gently in the lap, one placed over the other, with the thumbs lightly touching. For centuries, this mudra has symbolized deep meditation, concentration, and inner stillness. According to Buddhist tradition, similar hand positions were used during the Buddha's final meditation beneath the Bodhi tree before his enlightenment. Unlike many other mudras that focus on specific qualities or energies, Dhyana Mudra points toward something deeper, the quieting of the mind itself. It is not about doing more, it is about becoming completely still. Ancient yogis often referred to prana as the invisible energy that animates all living beings. Prana Mudra was designed to awaken that life force. It is formed by touching the thumb to both the ring finger and little finger, while the index and middle fingers remain extended. Traditional teachings describe this mudra as a powerful practice for vitality, enthusiasm, resilience, and overall well-being. Many practitioners call it the energy mudra because it is believed to help reduce fatigue and restore a sense of aliveness. In symbolic terms, Prana Mudra reminds us that tremendous energy already exists within us. The challenge is not creating it, the challenge is learning how to access it. At first glance, Chin Mudra looks almost identical to Gyan Mudra. Both involve touching the thumb and index finger together. The difference lies mainly in the positioning of the hands and the symbolic interpretation found in different schools of yoga. Chin Mudra is one of the most widely practiced mudras in meditation traditions throughout India. Ancient teachers believed it encouraged awareness, improved concentration, increased energy, and promoted inner balance. Many practitioners use it during breathing exercises and meditation because it creates a subtle sense of alert relaxation, a state in which the body is calm, but the mind remains awake and attentive. For generations, it has served as a symbol of conscious living and self-awareness. And finally, we arrive at the most famous mudra of all, Gyan Mudra. Known as the mudra of knowledge, it is performed by gently touching the tip of the index finger to the tip of the thumb, while allowing the remaining fingers to remain relaxed. This simple gesture appears throughout yogic history. It can be seen in countless images of sages, saints, monks, and meditation masters. In yogic symbolism, the thumb often represents universal consciousness, while the index finger represents the individual self. When the two come together, they symbolize the union of personal awareness with higher wisdom. For thousands of years, practitioners have used Gyan Mudra during meditation to cultivate clarity, concentration, insight, and inner peace. Perhaps that is why this mudra has survived for so long, because at its deepest level, Gyan Mudra represents humanity's oldest quest, the search to understand who we truly are. And according to the ancient sages, that journey begins not somewhere out in the world, but within. Now, before you start practicing these mudras, there is something important that many beginners misunderstand. One of the biggest reasons people become disappointed with mudras is not because the practice fails, but because their expectations are unrealistic. Today, it's common to see extraordinary claims online. Some videos promise instant transformation, immediate healing, or dramatic changes after only a few minutes of practice. But if you study the traditional teachings, you'll find a very different message. Mudras were never presented as shortcuts. They were presented as tools, simple techniques designed to support meditation, self-awareness, and inner balance over time. This leads to the first common mistake: expecting immediate results. Many people try a mudra once, wait for something dramatic to happen, and then quickly move on. But the ancient traditions that preserved these practices were built on patience. The goal was never to chase an instant experience. The goal was gradual refinement of the mind. The second mistake is inconsistency. A person may practice for a few days, get busy, and eventually forget about it altogether. Yet almost every contemplative tradition teaches the same lesson. Small daily actions often produce greater results than occasional bursts of effort. The third mistake is ignoring the breath. In traditional yoga, mudras were rarely practiced on their own. They were often combined with slow breathing, meditation, and mindful attention. The hand position creates the structure, but the breath helps create the state. Without calm and conscious breathing, much of the meditative value of the practice can be lost. And finally, many people approach mudras as if they possess mystical powers on their own. The ancient texts describe them differently. A mudra was seen as a support for practice, not a replacement for discipline, reflection, or personal growth. It was one piece of a much larger system designed to cultivate balance, clarity, and self-understanding. So how long should you actually practice a mudra? For beginners, 5 minutes a day is more than enough to start. This allows you to become familiar with the gesture while developing the habit of regular practice. As your comfort and concentration improve, 15-minute sessions often provide enough time for the body to relax and the mind to settle into a deeper state of focus. More experienced practitioners sometimes extend their sessions to 30 minutes or longer, particularly when combining mudras with meditation or pranayama. But the exact duration matters less than regularity. A short daily practice is usually far more effective than a long session performed only once in a while. Now comes the question most people ask after learning about these mudras. Which one should you start with? The answer depends entirely on your intention. If your goal is improved focus, concentration, and mental clarity, Gyan Mudra is often considered the ideal starting point. If you're seeking greater vitality and energy, Prana Mudra is traditionally associated with awakening and strengthening life force. For relaxation and a calmer state of mind, many practitioners turn to Vayu Mudra because of its connection with balancing mental restlessness. If your primary interest is meditation and inner stillness, Dhyana Mudra remains one of the most respected practices in Buddhist and yogic traditions. And if you wish to cultivate gratitude, emotional balance, and a deeper sense of connection, Anjali Mudra offers one of the simplest places to begin. There is no universally perfect mudra. Each one serves a different purpose. Rather than trying to master all 10 at once, choose the one that resonates most with your current needs and practice it consistently for a week. Observe your experience. Notice your level of focus, breathing, and quality of your thoughts. Because the real value of mudras may not lie in the position of the fingers themselves, but in the attention they invite us to bring to the present moment. And perhaps that's the most fascinating thing about mudras. For thousands of years, across different cultures, traditions, and generations, these simple hand gestures have continued to be practiced, not because they promise miracles, but because they invite us to slow down, become more aware, and reconnect with ourselves. And if you enjoyed this exploration into ancient wisdom, spirituality, and yogic science, Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because we have many more fascinating topics coming soon. Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and take care.